And speaking of which, those two issues pushing President Obama's approval ratings down. A new NBC News Wall Street Journal poll shows his approval rating has dropped for the third straight month from 61% in April to 56% in June, now standing at 53%. On the economy, the president's numbers are even lower, less than half, 49% of responders approving of his performance there. When it comes to health care, only 41% approving of the president on that issue.
He's not saying what he really wants to, what his plan is.
It's not going to be cheap, and it's going to increase the deficit, and I think most Americans are concerned with that.
The worst marks are on the economic stimulus package signed into law shortly after Obama took office. Only 34% now say it was a good idea.
We're going to go to 24-hour News 8's Rick Albin standing by at the live desk, who's going to shed more light on the president's popularity waning. Rick?
Well, there are a couple of interesting things about those numbers, and I want to talk with NBC's Deputy Political Director Mark Murray about those. Mark, thanks for joining us. First of all, we should point out that a new president is almost always going to lose some poll numbers from the time he is inaugurated to get past those first 100 days, now into the first 6 months. So part of this is to be expected. True?
Exactly. And in our brand new NBC Wall Street Journal poll, where President Obama's numbers came down, it was mostly from Republicans. In our surveys a month or two ago, about 1 in 5 Republicans was backing President Obama, but now that's dropped to 16%. And so that's really become evident as this health care debate has really kicked up and almost become like a presidential campaign that's pitted Democrats versus Republicans. So where Obama has actually lost his Republican support, the good news for him is that he's still at 53%, which is a pretty healthy job approval rating. And in fact, it actually matches the electorate that he won in last November's presidential contest. So it's still healthy. It's not as good as it was. And what the Obama administration really hopes is that the capital that it spent when he was at 61% on the stimulus and on health care actually pay off in the long term.
But that really is the biggest problem that I see when I look at this poll, because now only about a third of the people, and that would include some people who approve of his overall handling of the job of president, now say they do not approve of the stimulus, and unless that changes, that could be a problem for him. True?
It is a short-term problem for the administration, and really when you look into the poll, the public has a big concern with all the spending that's gone on in the Obama administration and then also in the previous Bush administration. And the voters are kind of fed up with that. What the White House obviously hopes for is the economy to pick up and for them to say, look, the stimulus helped turn the economy around, but we're not going to know that for several more months. And so in the short term, they certainly are taking their licks. In the long term, they hope that they're able to win and be ahead. But it is a gamble, and they certainly spent their capital on it. We'll see if it pays off.
Only got 15 seconds left. Talking about short-term problems, beer summit tonight at the White House. Does that put this issue to bed, or are we still going to be talking about it next week?
The White House certainly hopes so. Two things to watch for. Let's see the pictures, if there's a nice handshake between Officer Crowley and Professor Gates, and obviously what they say afterward. Those are the two things to watch.
All right. Deputy Political Director for NBC, Mark Murray, thank you very much for talking with us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Be sure to tune in tonight right after 24-hour News 8 at 6, NBC Nightly News. We'll have the results of that beer summit, as well as delve into those falling presidential poll numbers. That's at 6:30.